How's it going? Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. I've got some nice tunes going. They're my new vibes. The app, I think it's called Aura. They release some tunes, new beats every now and again. So when they play, little did they know they have a real effect on the vibe in the studio. If it's like chill, this is like chill tunes. I'm kind of like, oh yeah, we'll sit down, we'll have a conversation, we'll flow with it. But sometimes if they're pumping tunes, we're like, fuck the stream, let's go out, yeah. But you calm Morgan down. It's like, no Morgan, everywhere is closed, there is no point. I was meant to be going to a Download Festival. I think it was due to be on next weekend, up in the Midlands. I went last year. It was such a good time, I got to meet up with all my old uni friends, hang out, go to a festival. Oh, it was great. We went for the whole weekend. We got an Airbnb. I'm glad we didn't do the camping because the weather was so absolutely disastrous. We got an Airbnb and went in and out every day. But it was perfect because I didn't want any of the camping crack. People I used to go to festivals when I was a teenager because you'd do the camping and it'd be great because we can do drugs or we can do this. I'm an adult. I can do what I want now. Live my own life. Yeah, so I didn't need to go to the thing. And I had this idea before where was I? I was tripping in Victoria Park, and it was during All Points East, I think, maybe a couple of years ago. I think Caribou was playing. I was there with a mate of mine, and there was one stage where I was walking around, and there was this new experimental drug that was out called 25I. It was going around for a while. But I remember I was walking along and I seen this dude. He was like a Neanderthal dude. He was like dragging a club around the ground. He was dressed like Fred Flintstone. Like he was actually, I wasn't tripping, he was actually dressed like that. And he had a big club and he was dragging it along. And I was watching him kind of morph, and then he just changed into a suit, a guy wearing a suit. I felt like I was travelling through time. I can't remember who was playing at the festival, but I had a good time.
How high were you for that to happen?
Man, I got so, I didn't realise. There's a mate of mine back at home, and he says, with these type of things, when you're tripping or something like that, there's no point knocking on the door with these type of things, he says. So we really went for it. We were in the queue. We started coming up while we were in the queue, and as we walked in, I was getting fairly high. They were checking our bags and everything. We didn't have anything with us, but we're checking the bags, and just the far side, they had a dog and this giant lady there. She had a dog, and it was just looking at us, and I'd already taken all the drugs, so I was fine, but man, it was real scary. Big Alsatian there looking at you, wanting to have your drugs. Yeah, dogs, they love drugs for some reason. That's why they hire them in the airports to sniff them out. Yeah, everyone they like the joke among druggies where they say, do you rather be a cat or dog person? And we always say we're cat people because they don't rat you out in the airport. Yeah, I was reading it was popping up on my Facebook feed today. There was loads of comedians, a lot of my mates actually, who were approached by a newspaper to kind of give their view on what it's like being a comedian during lockdown. Newsflash, fairly tough going, to be honest. But these were all there was Sakisa, she's been on the podcast, Jacob Hawley, Lauren Patterson. They're all, Pope Lonergan was interviewed as well, he was on the podcast, and they were all they all just said it was tough how Lauren moved back up home. She had planned to go up anyway to kind of get some money, save some money for Edinburgh, so she was at home, but she's got a job working in the supermarket now. Jacob has a kid on the way, and he's looking for a job somewhere as well. Sakisa had a job, has to do that more but they were all just saying oh, it's tough going, but we've had to get jobs and that. And then all the comments, down the comment section classically, a load of dickheads saying, oh, they had to get jobs. It's yeah, well, they had jobs already and they worked really hard at them, and now they have to get new jobs. The people down the comments, it was my experience of yeah, people in the comments are fairly often dickheads. Not in the comment section of the live stream though, they're fairly sound. Is there anyone here tonight?
Yeah, we've got our regulars in, Stoney.
Oh, nice one. Daniela's back. I was chatting to Daniela the other day. She messaged me on Instagram. I was looking about. She asked about dreams, and I was really into I'm really into figuring out meditation and zoning in on that. And I was reading loads about magic with a K, MAGICK, during the week. I don't know much about it yet. Can't really talk about it. But like I'm starting to learn about it. Alan Moore's really into it. Stuart Lee appears to be good friends with Alan Moore. They're really into it. I was watching Midnight Gospel on Netflix, and they had a magician on who was really into it. And it's not magic. You have performance magic that's like a dude just going up on stage pulling a rabbit out of a hat, and then you have this magic that's with a K, and it's the idea that you use words or even spells. Like spell is a short for spelling. So spell, you spell something, you write words down, and then you change the world or the universe out there. So you just say something or you write something. So if you're a writer or even a comic or a poet or something like that, you write a spell, someone reads it and it changes their worldview. So that's like casting a spell. That's kind of how they kind of go about it, or that's what they say. So it's not like magic pulling something out of a hat. But anyway, I'm finding I used to kind of, especially when I was a teenager, I was never into any of this type of thing. I've taken many U-turns in different directions and going up and down and all around, but I find out more and more about it all the time. But Daniela was talking about dreams last week, and that's one thing that I never fully got into or started reading about or understanding, even though I know like Freud really kind of dives into your dreams, and I do know during REM sleep that's when you do a lot of your learning. Like if you learn a speech, say if you try and learn a speech, I know with my own stand-up, say if I write a series of jokes, 10 jokes, maybe it's a 2-minute bit or something, I could practice that 2 minutes, and I practice it 10, 20, 30 times, and then I could test myself at the end of my practice session. And then between that test there, or say if I don't look at it again, I go to bed and I wake up the next morning and then I try it again during the day, I'll remember it better the following day, having not practiced it just because I slept on it. Because when you're in REM sleep, your brain cycles through that speech 10 times. Anthony, you're learning, cycles through it 10 times faster. So I could practice it 100 times in my sleep and you wouldn't realize. But like, so dreams, and that's when dreams happen as well. So dreams are very important for kind of turning short-term memory into long-term memory, and it goes into your brain and it kind of sets there, you know. So that's what happened. So I suppose I do know a little bit about dreaming stuff, but interpreting dreams, that just never totally happened for me, you know. Didn't happen it. But when Daniela mentioned it, sure enough, when someone mentions something, it starts popping up. And then I seen something today that was recommended me as part of your meditation journey to keep a dream diary by your bed, and just first thing in the morning, wake up, write a few things down, and whether you integrate them or whether they become synchronicities or whether you see them later on in the day, it's a way to kind of help you become a more fulfilled person. There's one thing I really like about dreams is you could have a dream and you could have a blank face in your dream, and you'd be walking down the street and suddenly you see someone, and your brain takes that picture during the day and puts it into the memory of your dream. So you think, oh my god, I seen that person in my dream yesterday. But you didn't. You just had a blank face in your dream, and then you imprinted that, so it makes it seem like it's important to that. Is there any scientific fact? Can I cite any citations or anything for any of this? No, Morgan, I can't.
James,
I can't do
that, I'd be worried about it.
If you go to Article 17, has everyone got my PDF for future reading for this live stream? Have you done your reading?
Lectures with James O.D.
Yeah, I'm worried. I'm going into the comment section now after talking for 10 minutes about what I learned about 20 minutes during the week. I'm worried. Like, bullshit, absolute tank, I'm leaving. Let's see. Yeah. What's you were saying Daniela was writing about dreams?
Yeah, so did you know you can actually learn new skills of lucid dreaming? Skills you retain during waking life.
Oh, skills. So you learn skills. Yes, I do. I've heard something a little bit similar to that, right? And what I heard about that was that if you practice, if you're an archer and you practice 10 times shooting an arrow, and you practice it 10 times, and then if you just visualize it 100 times, So if you close your eyes and really, really try and see yourself, picturing it, closing your eyes every bit, the strength pulling it back, holding it, breathing out slowly, letting go, seeing it hit the target. If you visualize that like 100 times, it's like practicing it another 10 times or something like that. Or I even heard before that it's as good as practicing it. So if you don't have, say if you're learning how to juggle, or if you're learning even, people will be learning how to do a handstand or a backflip or something like that. And if you really visualize it, something that involves muscle memory in that, if you really visualize it, is it as good as actually doing it? I nearly think what I heard is that it could be potentially as good. But you can also do it a lot quicker as well. But that links back to the REM sleep, what I was talking about again, that in the background it kind of goes into your brain, it cycles through it loads and loads of times.
That applies to physical skills.
Physical skills. Yeah, like if you're doing, if you, like, exactly like I was saying about the arrow, like actually shooting an arrow. Yeah, so it does apply to physical skills, yeah. Just visualizing yourself shooting an arrow, or visualizing yourself going from whatever side control to like doing an armbar or something like that in jiu-jitsu.
So basically I should start dreaming about touching my toes, and I will eventually touch my toes.
Yeah, I think you would. I think if you really, because what you're actually doing is close your eyes and you're really concentrating on letting your muscles, say your hamstrings and that, relax, and letting your muscles straighten out, and letting all, like if you're imagining loads, you're drawing water into your ligaments because you're really picturing it, and your mind thinks it's real. Your mind really thinks you're trying to bend down and touch your toes, so it starts bringing water into your muscles, starts bringing water into your ligaments, which makes you stretchier overall. So then when you actually go and do it, you've been preparing for it. That's kind of like the thought behind it.
Well, I know what I'm doing tonight.
Yeah, so you don't need to exercise at all, just pretend you're doing it. Yeah, it's nice chill start to the stream today. What we're doing today, we're going to be chatting to Matthew MCALOONE. He's a good friend of mine. He's actually a bit of a fighter. He has a really nice gym back at his house, so I'll talk about that for a bit. He's into beer. He works at a lot of beer companies. He's given me an awful lot of help with the Bill Murray, with regards like helping run the bar, giving me advice, even beers coming in, or just being around, being a good comic as well. Like if we're ever short someone, bring him up. Like even if he's somewhere the other side of town, he'll try his best and get back over here to help us out. So I'm looking forward to chatting to him. It'll be nice kind of catching up, saying hello. I think we have some clips ready to go. It's a 10-minute clip of him here at the Bill Murray. You'll enjoy it, and it'll give you a flavour for his style, what he's about. And do stick around for afterwards. We've been chatting to him for a little bit, and I'm not too sure will he be into my chat about dreaming, so I might have to park that for a little bit. But if you have any questions about certainly beer or running a bar, he runs a lot of other bars, stuff like that, or his style of comedy when you're watching it, stick them in the comment section. Or if you want any in particular questions about being Irish, or what it's like to be Irish, or how great it feels, stick it in the comment section. I'll make sure we get to them. Alright, we'll see you in about 10 minutes. Chat to you soon.
Alright guys, thanks for that. I don't know why you're getting so much abuse about being a Tory, because I didn't hear you actually say you were. But now I've seen your face. He's Tory as fuck. I'm from Belfast, we can smell him. Amir, I like your style. Mate, you're already on a date. Keep it in your fucking pants, would you? Who messaged who first?
I think it was me, actually.
You think it was? You just threw out so many fucking, like, just message all these slags, see which one comes back. I didn't say that. He said it. I was playing a role. I'm an actor as well as a comedian. What did you say? What did you say? You don't know what you said? Oh, the romance is just oozing here, isn't it? Just thought I'd fuck it up for you, because you're pretty cute. Like, so I might be able to slip in there in the back end. No, I'm only saying, because being a comedian, it's had a weird effect on my dating life. As a strategist, or whatever it was you said you were, you don't have this problem, but as a comedian, I get to go all over the world and gig. I'm not boasting, it's a fact. So I'm in these amazing places like South Africa, Australia, like all around Europe and stuff. That would be beautiful to spend with someone special, right? Unfortunately, I'm there on my own. But I'm not going to let that... Don't worry, I won't let it ruin it. Because what I do is I just take myself on dates. Way better than it sounds, not going to lie to you. Have you ever taken yourself on a date, Max? No? I get that. It was a weird thing for me as well because to be honest, like I've known myself for a while and I've always thought of myself more as a friend, but the thing is people change. Like I'm not the same person I was when I met me. So when I took a step back, I actually tick a lot of my boxes. Right. Like, Max, this might be freaking you out because you're high as fuck. And you're like, who is he talking about? But first of all, I'm available. Very important. And also weird because I've got a lot of options, but I'm just very busy. Second box I tick, no baggage, right? No crazy ex, no kids or anything like that. And I know that for a fact because I went on my Facebook and had a bit of a creep and there's no photos. And then the third thing is, right, I'm 34, which all of you are looking at me going, yep, yeah, you are. So I don't want anything casual anymore. Like, if I'm going to start dating someone, I need to know there's a possibility at least it's going to go somewhere. Which is great because I'm also really into relationships. I'm actually mad about them. It's like so much so, I'm never happier unless I have like 2 on the go. How much I enjoy them. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give me a shot, right? And I'm so happy I did because it turns out I'm a great date, okay? And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm not just saying that to be arrogant. First thing I really liked about me was it was really different because like I've done lots of things with me now, and I pay for everything. And that's actually, like, I was like, is he a chauvinist? Like, because this, I don't know if this is cool. It's 2018. And I would offer to pay. And then I'd be like, no, when you're with me, just let me treat you. I know that sounds cheesy when I say it now, but when I told me that, I fucking knew I meant it. It wasn't just a line. Another thing I really appreciated was, second date, right? So you nailed it with the suggestion. Free comedy night, what a baller. But sometimes it's not that easy. And when you're starting out with someone and you have to suggest it, there's a lot of pressure. And I'm old-fashioned, so as the man, I've got to come up with the ideas, you know. But such is the connection with me. Literally, everything I asked me to do was exactly what I wanted to do. It was hard not to fall in love with me, I'm not going to lie to you. But I was like holding back because I doubt I'm the only one here that's been hurt before. I know. Plus, I'd heard all the stories about me, so my guard is up, you know. But I, once again, sold myself short, right? Things were going really well, and it was that night where I was thinking like this could be the night, you know. So classic, to make sure it's not too tense, go out for a drink, you know. And I think just got a little bit too excited, right? The chat was great, drinks were flowing, and I was drunk, right? But not like cute drunk, where everything's hilarious and it's brilliant. I was like loose drunk. Like hands in places they shouldn't be in public. So it wasn't going to plan. And that's when, if you're with like a creep or a predator, they would take advantage of that. Not this guy. Couldn't have been nicer. As soon as I realised I wasn't really in a state for that, booked an Uber, right, on my account as well. Got me home, undressed me, put me to bed. Hand on my heart, no funny business. All right. And I've been up here a while, I have to go in a minute, but I'll be honest with you. I wanted to. All right? It's just the way it is. And I don't condone slut shaming, all right? Especially of me, but I would have let me. But I wanted it to be special, and I'm so glad that we did wait because the sex has been phenomenal. There's a connection there too, you know. And it's so good actually that we had a bit of a chat, and we're going to take the sex to the next level, right? I know, guys, it's one for the ladies, all right? Because it turns out we're both really into threesomes. Which is a big move, but like we're really into them. So like have a think, Matthew McAloone Instagram, just slip in the DMs, it's totally cool. But it is weird because a guy-girl threesome isn't the ideal. But when the second guy is you, it's kind of the dream. So yeah, think about it. Feel free to freak out, Max, because I have been talking about dating myself for the last 10 minutes, but all this has been is just an advert for my sexual availability. But that's what it's all about, is it not? Guys, my name is Matthew McAloone. Thank you very much.
Everyone, welcome back. We're here with Matthew. Hello, Matthew. How are you keeping?
James, very well, mate. And I don't know how many people you have as guests who come on who also have a microphone set up, but I feel like I'm probably your most professional guest.
Yeah, definitely up there. Certainly headphones unseen before, to be honest.
Or just, I don't want my girlfriend hearing what I say.
Yeah, you look like a...
I'm going to talk all sorts of shit about her. Like, actually, she don't even know we're breaking up, but... Like, how many people are on this live chat? There were 7 when I checked in.
Yeah, man. It's all about afterwards. I was picking
you get
up.
more
Nice.
views after, yeah. So, like, you're hearing this in the past, but, like, hit me up for sure.
When this goes out, when you're reading this next week, I will be single.
Yeah. I was I don't know what the regular format is for this. I'm just going to crash it. I was listening to your brain stuff and your dream stuff and everything beforehand.
Oh no.
The first thing that made me laugh, first and only, was he said about practicing jokes, and I was like, who practices jokes? What are you talking about? And then it just made me realize how different I am. I think, oh, this would be a good thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And then I hope I remember it.
Well, the first thing that you have to do is get some jokes, Matthew, and then you begin to practice them. That's how it works.
Man, come on, people have just sat through 10 minutes of what I do. They know at this point I'm not writing that shit. Like, that is just...
How do you practice something you don't have?
What, out of interest, what was the content? Because I didn't watch it. We were chatting about something else. The stat that put up, I don't know, Morgan, if you can recall, what was the gist of what I was talking about there for the last 10 minutes?
It's the one where you're talking about dating yourself and wanting
Exactly.
to have sex with yourself.
Yeah. That is everything about me in one thing. Of like, I don't even need this isolation. I'm born for this. Like, I can't spend enough time with myself.
I think I'm definitely in that camp as well in some ways. Like maybe a lot of comics are, or if you're, I don't know what, but like you live. I think if you live with, say, a girlfriend or something like that, that's also makes it easier. Like, you know, if you have a creative outlet that you can, like, say, I can do the live streams or something like that. That makes it easier. If you're into, like, you know, fitness and stuff like that, that's another thing that makes it easier. So we've got a nice, fortunately, our lives before this has been a nice little package where we can we have different tools that helps us get through isolation. In fact, we embrace it a lot, you know. Even when there's no isolation, we go out once a week, and even at that, it's just a gig, like, you know.
Well, we're like, my lifestyle before this was work all day, then go out and gig, then get home late, which is why I have, you mentioned earlier, the gym set up in the garage. So just do that, rinse and repeat. You might get a couple of weeknights off, and then gigs the weekend. And what's annoying is, and I don't know about the dynamic of people who watch this, but I'm sure a lot of people understand the comedian challenge. And you were talking about the likes of Lauren and stuff, and Jacob, who now, in lieu of comedy, have to go get a proper job. the graduation to when you could stop doing other things is that you start to get paid weekends. So you're working the weekends, so you make the money and you're able to go away. And I was just at that point. I just enjoyed probably the most lucrative 6 to 9 months of my comedy career so far, and it's just gone. And there's no clarity as to what it's going to be when it restarts. It might never be the same. People's habits will change and everything. But I'm one of the weird ones that never wanted to stop having a proper job.
Yeah.
Never understood the point of that. Never understood why you'd have to do it. I've always been able to go away and travel and gig and also work. And there's this badge of honor that seems to come with comedy, which is when you give up working a normal job and only do comedy. That's fucking stupid. Not just because this is the perfect example of we think that we're owed a living because we're talented and we have the balls to get up there and do it. And when comedy clubs exist, it's yes, we are the 1% that can do that. And it's frustrating because you want to be in with every club and you can't, and that's the fight. But when you actually step back and look at it, it's why you don't need to spend all day every day just a comedian. Do something else. Expand your horizons, learn something. I've been running breweries and working with pubs and everything the whole time I've been in the comedy realm, and it hasn't slowed me down. 6 years, paid weekends, running nights, traveling, internationally known, locally respected, and I do a fucking proper job.
Yeah.
You can be a legend in 2 fields, possibly 3 if you stretch yourself. So not that I don't have sympathy with the comedians, it's just I've always said there's a massive problem in comedy, that there's a struggle. You burn yourself out doing 2 things so that you can only do the comedy, and then you struggle again until the comedy gets lucrative, because comedy, even doing well, panel shows and everything, you get £1,000 per appearance on Mock the Week, and they spend it on writers because Frankie Boyle did it and he stood out, so everyone was fuck, now we have to spend it on writers. So you actually don't make any money doing the panel shows. You advertise yourself in the hope you can go and do weekends at places and people will come, and then maybe you can do your own thing. Breaking 6 figures doing that, how many make it?
Well, when you're talking about there having a day job, working hard during the day, getting after it, going out gigging in the evening, working on new material, getting after it, and then not only that, but keeping up your, not even a day job, having an interesting day job, and then hitting the gym late at night a few times, getting up in the morning, doing your workout, having that grit and stuff like that, that's a talent that a lot of people don't have. People can't just switch that on. There's some people that kind of have that, there's some people that can develop it, some people who don't really have it. So the fact that say me and you in some ways are able to get up and do that, that's something we just have to be thankful for. It's a nice thing to be able to do and have, because you mightn't always have it.
Yeah, potentially, but you were mentioning earlier, that absolute nonsense about the magic you're looking into, where people write down and it changes their life. Comedians, the 90% who are doing their paid work and they're just getting by, and that actually stifles their creativity, because all they're doing is thinking about their set later. They're not writing new stuff, but they could actually use some magic. I practice it a little bit. The magic with the K, so I could write them a spell, and I'll share it with everyone here. Just write it down yourselves. It's really easy. Just get up in the morning and look at it, and it'll say, "You're a lazy cunt." Yeah, and then you're inspired to do more. Yeah. That's my magic.
That's what you read every day.
Never be happy. How can you be happy spending 9 hours not doing anything?
Was that spell handed down from father to son?
He would never use the C word.
No. He was a gentleman.
he was a gent, yeah. He could say it with a look. He had a cuntish glint in his eye.
Tiny little slit in one of his eyes.
We all have our pain that we draw on. Something must have made you feel like you weren't good enough. So I suppose maybe it's influenced by who did that to you, who was that person, and what were they good at. Because my mum and dad were grafters, like 24/7, 100%, taking chances. Some worked, some didn't, but either way, you don't complain about it. You just move on. So maybe that's what that is. That you almost like a. Do you ever watch Heroes, the sci-fi show that was a really good one season and then shit for 3?
Yeah, I watched all 3, I think.
Yeah, I watched them all as well, hoping it would get good again. Like, it's not going to get good again. But there was a character in that, I can't remember his name, but he would touch someone with powers and he would get their powers.
Yeah.
And it would sort of hop from thing to thing. Maybe that's what happens to comedians. The person that breaks you, you inherit a trait that you see in them. So maybe a lot of comedians have lazy parents. And that's where they get it from. But really, what I'm going back to is when the people everyone dreams. See, when you wake up, just roll that paper you wrote your dream down on, stick it up your hole, something. Because you'll feel way better about it when you go sleep again if you've worked hard that day.
Yeah, shit it out later that day. My dreams came through my asshole.
Yeah, there you go. You see them twice.
Yeah.
And they mean as much when they're covered in shit as they did when you wrote them down in the morning.
I never. I had a lot of the same kind of mentality as you in some ways with regards keeping a day job and working that, like, you know, in that it totally took the pressure. I could be as creative I wanted in the evening. I could choose a new material gig over a higher paying gig or something like that if I wanted to work a lot of new stuff. That's something you could go after, you could do, like, you know. But it was
because there's a lot of gigs you can go and do, and some of them pay money and there's no one there.
Yeah, it was comfortable to have a day job because, you know, you do your comedy in the evening, you can be creative, you can try out new things. You don't kind of slip in. It's not like I particularly had the opportunity to kind of slip into the thing where you're just doing loads of paid work during the week and stuff like that. I suppose if I was offered it or some ways,
it would be nice. Yeah,
it would be good in ways. But maybe that's the people who were in the article. That's where they were at. Like, they were doing loads of paid work during the week, and like every one of those people that was in the article, I was reading them. They were saying, oh, they don't have their paid work in the evening anymore. They don't have that. But like, I know them all. They were all coming into the Bill Murray randomly just on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and they had some production crew with them, or they're doing some podcasts or doing this, that, or the other. They were like any comedian who's doing decent and who's like touching on getting on TV and stuff like that. They're all grafting during the day. You know, they're kind of free during the day to potentially explore other options. You know.
You're writing for something, or you're doing media work, and you're sort of, it's a Venn diagram. It overlaps with your comedy stuff, so you can justify it. But it's just this idea that you're not really doing it if you're also doing something else. And I would get that. I would feel that when I would be in green rooms, mainly in the UK. It really does. I don't think it exists as much in other places, maybe UK and US, but anywhere else, everyone is working. You know, maybe we're just flattered by the economy here, and you could make $1,000 a weekend easily gigging in London, or you do the Manchester runs, or, you know, not the stands. I doubt the stands paying that much, but, you know, that was a thing, but it doesn't exist anywhere else.
No.
So we just have to, you know, it's fine. You know, working another job isn't a step down. It shouldn't be seen as like still working, shit one. You're not a proper comedian. Some
of the people that I really kind of looked up to, and sort of some creative people that I would have seen, was like, I was never a fan of like Lord of the Rings. I haven't even read the books but J.R. Tolkien, he like worked on, at night time he used to be a watch out in the army or something, but that's when he used to write his books, you know. He used to just work.
Hang on, what war was this?
I don't know, but is Hitler coming? I was writing my bookies.
It's like, I didn't see those guys coming, but Frodo has just done this really fun thing in my fucking book.
I would think it would be a very good idea to, if you are a comic in the evening, to have a handy job during the day in some ways, where you do have the opportunity to kind of chill, let your mind wander, some type of mindless work in some ways. So when it comes to the evening time, you're ready to go, like, rather than having this really engaging.
That way, mate. Would you like be able to do something you hate and then just switch it on, or would that hate bleed into the rest? I think there's also too many people.
Yeah, not something you hate, but not something incredibly. You don't want this real stressful day job where you're just like working right up until like 7 o'clock and then jumping out. You want a kind of nice job. It's kind of chill. You know, you're doing a bit, and then your main thing is your show in the evening.
Why does stress have to be bad? Why does stress have to be a negative thing? Because if you care about something, comedy's stressful. Comedy is a stress. How much anxiety are you feeling seconds before you go on stage, and then it's totally fine. Yeah. And then you come off stage and you're like, that was good for about 15 seconds, and then you remember the thing you didn't say, or you're unhappy with the way you said something, and then you're like, oh fuck me, but it's still great.
A certain amount of stress is good, but it's not like the more stress you take. It's not like the more stress you take on, the better it is. Like, you know, stress is. Do you know when a lobster has this big shell on? He starts growing and he feels stress, like, because it's crushing him a little bit, and then he gets rid of that shell, and then he gets a new one. Maybe not a lobster, but something else. He gets rid of it, and then he puts a new one on. So when you feel stress, it's a way to kind of show that you're growing, you know. But you don't want to be stressed all the time, because then you'll be fucked, man.
Your references, they're not good.
No.
Like, they're not, and you don't even believe in them. Like that lobster one, you bailed on halfway through. You're like, oh no, someone's going to comment.
No,
I can't let the commenters
definitely,
get to you.
I definitely think the lobster one is a good one, but I don't think it was a lobster. I think it was like a shellfish, like, because lobsters kind of keep their shell, I think, all the time. Or do they grow? Maybe they do lose their shell. I don't know. Anyway, the idea is when you're feeling stressed, it's because you're growing, and but you don't want to be stressed all the time. Like, you're a man that's fairly stressed. You're only 17. Like, you look about fucking 45. Because you've been going after it. You haven't slept in 6 weeks. You've been looking for gigs. Weirdly, there must be one somewhere.
Have a permanent erection. I don't understand what's going on. But no, there's a difference between, like, you can't be. Like, first of all, no one should be stressed all the time. And if you're a comedian and you're stressed all the time, you'd just be stressed no matter what you did. Mm-hmm. I think there's a difference between stress and just having a lot to do. Mm-hmm. But that's where time management comes into it, and being on top of things and prioritizing. So if you get stressed, it's because you're disorganized. Mm-hmm. You should be able to say, okay, look, I've got all these things to do. I've got this gig tonight. If I do all these things, that no one's waiting on me. That's the important one. Like, other stakeholders and whatever it is you're trying to achieve. As soon as other people are breathing down your neck, that's the stress you can't control. You've put that in someone else's world.
Like, you're clearly a very conscientious person. Like, you make a list, you say you're going to do these things, you do these things, then you get some more things done. That's like being very conscientious. There's a lot of people.
Very rewarding.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who'd be much more further over on the openness scale, where they wouldn't be able to do lists, they wouldn't be able to do that, but they'd be much more open with regards to emotions, and that's a different type of comedian. So there's a huge amount of comedians who are kind of have their head in that space where they can't make a list and do things and stuff like that, but they are very open, and there's a lot of stuff that kind of it's really good for society to have those open people as well, because everyone can't be hugely conscientious and hugely open. You can have different combinations of both. Like, you know, I'm very conscientious, so would you, you be, but there'll be other people that will be incredibly emotional and they write a different type of comedy, and they won't be able to have like a day job and do things hard like that, because they're too tough going.
I would disagree with that, because like you're talking about some theory that you're looking into, and there's Carl Jung, and Carl Jung had insights, and it was a color chart of different people, and the very basic part of it is you've got red people like myself, super driven. They want to be involved in decision making. They want to basically be there at the start and end of every process. So, like, here's the idea, make it happen, come back to me when you've got the ideas, I'll tell you whether or not it's ready to go forward. You got blue people who are the cautious type. They want to see everything analyzed, want to make sure you're making the right decision, want to see options. You got the orange people who are Protestants, so we kill them. No, you got the orange personality types who are very energetic, they're creative, they like being given tasks so that they can further them, and they stretch them out and they make them great, but sometimes they got to be reined in. And then you got the green people who are like what you're talking about, super amiable, super open, and wouldn't be able to work on their own, and would hate the stress of being asked, give us the idea that's going to turn this whole thing around. No good. But they could be very happy working in a job where all they're done. They could just follow a red around, and the red tells them what to do, and they do it, and that's all they have to do. And that's about knowing what you're good at, knowing what you're bad at, and finding a role that fits that. But furlough, like this, and we're going to jump off this topic here, but people who are now on furlough and people who are working from home or who are having to cover for people who've left the business, and it's all madness. There's loads of people right now realizing how much they fucking hate their job. And that is like the majority of people don't actually like what they do. That's a bigger problem because people, and there's the Venn diagram includes what comedians do on the way up. They'll just work any job because they've got comedy. So it doesn't matter how much they hate that thing because they don't care about it and they're going to move on. It's possible to find something that you like. Just like look around, aim big. Like you're trying to be a comedian. That's the fucking hardest thing in the world. It's pretty easy to find a proper job that you can manage, but I don't think a lot of people look at themselves and think, what are my skills? They get put in, they get a job. And like, okay, well now I'm in this funnel and I'll just try and get as high up in this as possible. As opposed to, like, I had an epiphany when I was like 28. I was working for Kellogg's and they kept offering me promotions. Like they were like, look, we think you can be the next Tony the Tiger. I was like, no. Like Cocoa Monkey I'd be in, but not Tony. But like it was very super corporate. Like here's a job, here's a new area, here's a thing you could do. And I was like turning it down. I didn't know why. I was like, well, I'm here, I should move up, And then I was like, I don't want to talk about cereal anymore. Like that was like, I couldn't be fucked. And I was like, right, I'm good at sales. They had put me through a lot of like corporate training and all that shit. So I know I'm good at selling things and I can talk to people. But if I'm going to talk about something, what do I want to talk about all day? And I was like, oh, beer. Beer or guitars. And I reached out to all the breweries I could think of, and Fender and Gibson, who were not hiring. No, but breweries were. So I had like an offer from Diageo. I had an offer from this like more regional brewery, and I went with the regional one and worked up and like blah, blah, blah. But like I had nothing at that point. I had no savings. I was living in England, so I was like maybe 1-2 possible like months without a salary before I would have to go home and be, I have no fucking money. I can't be here anymore. But I knew I couldn't do what I was doing anymore. But it's just go out there, like know what you're good at. Go to a company, go on their website, email the recruitment section, or speak to recruiters and just carpet bomb. There are jobs out there for everyone.
Yeah.
And you got to tell them why you'd be good at it. But too many people just get on a road and just follow it through.
Yeah, maybe like when you're talking about your epiphany moment in some ways, it does remind me of like very kind of similar thing where I was like 2 years out of university back at home. I'd done like a bit of an internship, was on the dole for a bit, was trying to figure out, started gigging a little bit. And then I just had the idea, it's like, oh, like I done my degree in engineering. I like maths and physics. I could go to London. You definitely get a job as an engineer here. Do some drawing, do some AutoCAD, and then the evening I could work as a comedian. Like there you go, done. Start doing that. Done that for 4 years, and then I thought like, how could I improve this? Oh, it'd be nice to have my own business instead of working for someone else. So then started having Bill Murray was kicking off like we're doing that.
Yeah.
So said let's do this. Go for that, like
That's the reward. Like you realized that you need to do something where you're getting a reward because your personality type is such that you can take that on your shoulders and not feel overwhelmed because you get driven by the achievement. But if you're the sort of person like we talked about who doesn't like that and wants all the weight off the shoulders, there is no shortage of people like me who actively look for something like that.
Yeah.
Like I want green personality types. Like every time I've ever managed a team, the first thing I do is make them all do personality tests. I can see, first of all, basically, if you showed people all the personality types, a really interesting thing to do is you get a group of people who know each other. And like we could do it one day with comedians to really fuck with their heads. But you sit them all down and you basically say, rate all these personality types and write down which one you think you are. Write down what you think or who you think everyone else is, and write down who you think people think you are. And it never matches up. The only people it ever matches up with are reds, you know, who are like, oh yeah, I think I'm this, because you aspire to be that, you aspire to be seen that way.
Yeah.
And it's only Reds who are like 23 or 24, who maybe this is their first or second job, who don't think other people see them that way because they've never been in a position of power. But a senior Red should be very clearly read to everybody around, and they're probably quite proud of the fact that they're seen as being driven and leaders.
Yeah.
But that's like, I do that. I've always done that. Will always do that. And you can see the light switch on in people's heads when they're told, here's where your strengths are. Here's why. Here's what you're possibly not good at. If you want to get to the next level, here's what that would be. Because you can consciously and subconsciously affect just who you are as a person. Like, I've changed. I know I'm not empathetic. You know, people. But the flip side of that is, if I up it a little bit, people will get very concise and rational advice. It's just not what they want to hear, depending on who they are. Because some people want to just be told they're right, that other thing's big, nasty, and you know, you do what you want to do, and here's your emotional support. Whereas I don't get those emotions. I will understand what they're saying, and I will flip it to what I think the other side, you know, devil's advocate. And you go, well, have you thought about how this person's thinking and why they might have done that? Some people can handle that, some people can, but I know how to present that now, as opposed to how it used to be. It's like, fucking grow up, would you? And give people really harsh advice. There's a way of tailoring it. There's also a way of being more managing up, you know. So if there's someone who is senior, or someone that might take offense, or, you know, not appreciate you sort of treading on their toes. Happens in comedy clubs. The headliner should be, you sort of defer a little bit when you're doing your open spots and everything. So if you want, like, to get involved in those conversations, I can't just go in big balls and take over the room. Got to defer for like 15 minutes, then take over the room. You know, but if it's the there's like a matrix of child, adult, and parent, and the ideal in every scenario is you have a parent or a chat or an adult to adult conversation, no matter who you're speaking with. So this can be family, it could be colleagues, it could be when you just meet people in the pub. The ideal is adult to adult, because that's when you're having a conversation. But if your personality type is big, you could end up constantly having adult to child conversations, because people just cower and they back off. Or worse, it's parent to child in a work scenario where you're just, don't do it like that, do it like this, and then they just do it. You know,
I think that happens huge amount in relationships. Like, there's always, you want adult to adult when you're talking, but then once something kicks off, one of them turns into a kid and throws something against the wall or something, and then the other starts scolding, and then suddenly you have adult kid, and then they never get out of that cycle. Like, that's just, why do we keep rehashing the same arguments all the time? It's because it keeps slipping into your child personality. Like, you know. And
you jump back into where it left off last time. So you might have had a fight for 40 minutes before it got childish before, but as soon as you see the road sign, you're like, boom, straight into the mode. And I know too much about that stuff, and my tendency is to almost like Terminator. When I see social situations, it's like, this is what that's happening, blah blah blah. When I could be unemotional about it, but in relationships, I'm a fucking nightmare. That's where my emotions lie. And then if someone, like, here's a good example. If an act came to you after a gig with a note about one of your jokes, could you use that advice? Like, if they said to you, it's like, oh, you said this way, you should probably think about saying it that way. How would you take that?
I'd like to think that I'd read it and I'd decide if it's a good bit of advice or not. If it was a joke or something, I wouldn't feel comfortable kind of using it. If it was a tag or something, I might try it out. But if it's like a bit of advice, and it totally depends on it, like whether it works or not, or it's good or not. But I say more often than not, I'd try it out, but I wouldn't put my heart and soul into it, and then I'd very quickly drop it.
If someone comes to me and they have a note of one of my jokes, my initial response is, who the fuck do you think you are? Get away from me. Like, I don't want to hear it. Like, John Maher, who's been on this, and he's a great friend of both of ours, and I've known him for probably half my life at this point. So before comedy, he knows to wait until after the gig, like a cold environment, the next day over a coffee or something. Like after a gig, I don't want to hear what anyone else thinks about my set. Except I don't even want to hear audience. I get a good response on stage and I leave. My ideal is I'm away, I'm gone, I'm in the ether. All they'll ever know me for is smashing that gig. Like I don't want to speak to the audience and then they're like, oh, he's a fucking normal person. I want them to just be mystery, you know. But the only people I can take like notes from and stuff like that is in a cold environment and people who I perceive as further down the road.
You have a very defined, very exact view of the world, isn't that? You know what's going on and you know what's happening and you can spot, like, you must
I know what I know.
You must be more open than that. Like, you talk about, like,
no 100%. I know. I seek out as much as possible because I want to know, but I know that I don't. No one can. And like, so I know myself. I know my assets and I know my flaws and stuff like that. And I know that I'm good at retaining information. And when I'm into something, I can't just like have a casual interest. Like, I got into fitness and I put a gym in my garage, and I pay £100 a month to use another gym.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm all in.
Yeah.
You know, but I need to know, probably because I either don't want to be wrong, or it's probably because I'm just interested and I get into things. But like, I'm not to the sense of I wouldn't be the guy who would be in a bar and I know a little bit about brewing, for example. You mentioned earlier, and I've said about it being in the brewing industry. I don't assume at the start of every conversation I know more about beer than everyone else, because growing up, especially in Northern Ireland, you get humbled a lot, you know, and it's vicious. In Belfast, like, if you're wrong about something, it's fucking game over. So I never assume I'm right unless I definitively know I'm right. So if someone says something to me and they seem confident about it, it's like, okay, tell me more about that. I want to know more. But I will Google the shit out of that and I will go down that rabbit hole before I repeat it. You know, Ian Stone, great comic. Maybe I'm going to ruin his bit, but he's been doing it for like 5 years, so it's fucking fine. But he had the joke about talking to someone and they have an opinion on something, and you're like, you have no opinion. You're like, that sounds great. That's my opinion now.
Yeah.
Then you go on and you repeat it, and someone counters it at some point, and you go back to the person and you go, hey, I started using your opinion, and turns out you're fucking wrong. You made me look stupid. So yeah, the openness thing of like, I'm feverish about new information, but I'm also feverish about making sure and double checking and getting into things and getting deep down. And like my YouTube suggested videos is just all over the place. YouTube probably don't know what the fuck is going on with me, because it's just nonsense. Just like, oh yeah, what's going on with this? And like, you're talking about the brain and everything like that. I stopped looking into things about the brain because no one knows. It's all theory. I can't be dealing with theories.
You sound like the type of man that doesn't have a lot of free time.
How do you classify free time? It's free to use the way I want to use it, but I don't like find myself twiddling my thumbs or being bored. I don't think I've been bored in about 15 years. Probably since smartphones came along. I was like, finally, endless information. Yeah, this is great. Like, I choose to take a break. Like, I can definitely just unwind. Probably COVID has been the first time Hannah and I have consecutively watched TV together. Yeah. There was never any like sofa time, and she's as busy, if not busier than me. She's more social, as in going out and seeing friends. I'm like you, it's gigs. We might get a beer after a gig, you know. But there's no like, oh, let's just go out. Like, where was the last time, apart from going home, like you just go for a night out instead of gigging? Yeah, no, they're planned months in advance, and it's usually meeting friends from a different country. Yeah, like... and you're exactly. Yeah, it's like, could I see you another time? Like, could I see you on a Tuesday? Because if so, you're not getting a Saturday from me. Yeah, when you gigging next, I'll see you there probably. Yeah, come to the gig, all right, and then we'll go out after I've been on. I'll speak to the guys and try and open. You know, so most of my nights out in London have been. If you ever do Covent Garden? Yeah. one of the best comedy gigs outside of the Bill Murray. That's the best gig because it's super regimented time wise. If you're opening, you're done by 8:35, 8:40, and you're in central London already. It's perfect. So you like, I've had the feeling like a giddy glee of leaving that gig and being like, oh, I'm like a normal person. I'm going out at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Never happens.
It's nice. Like, it's nice to be a civilian now and again.
Yeah. Like it's like you're looking around like oh, and then also you start to get annoyed. You're like, none of these people know who I am.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't see me murder in front of 250 people there. Like, there's 250 people in this city right now, still high of what I did for them. Where are they to tell all these fuckers? But then if one walks in the bar, do you ever have this where you've done a gig and then someone from the crowd comes in and you're like, oh, fuck.
I've already done all my good jokes.
It's like, I don't want them to have normal chat with me. And that's where, like, after, like, say we do the bucket at the Bill Murray, or you have to like hang back and stop people from going out the door because there's people waiting to get in and shit. Like, everyone watching this has been to the Bill Murray, so they know what's up. You have to have a bit of chat with people then, and I don't turn it off. I'm still the fucking guy. Like, so I'm rinsing people, banter. I'm like MCing people as I'm pushing them away and stuff. That's the only way I can do it. I don't want them to have like the normal conversation. Like, one of the worst things ever was I left the Camden Head and went into Tesco, and a guy who'd been in the audience with his girlfriend, I was there like buying spinach and blueberries and everything. I was like really looking forward to making a smoothie the next morning, and then he was like, oh. I was like, fuck off. I don't want you knowing I eat fruit.
So someone said that about when you see a teacher, when I was in school and you see a teacher doing some shopping, it's like seeing an animal it's like seeing something in the wild, like, you know.
I have the best. Like, do we have to wrap up at 9 o'clock? Is that how this works?
We can overrun if it's a good story, man.
Okay.
Go for it.
Right, this could be a really great way to pull everything together. We're talking about at the start, like comedians having to get proper jobs, and it's almost like resentful, and people being like, "No, fuck you! Oh, you have to get a job and everything." So we had this science teacher in school, and he was like, it felt like he was our age. Like, he looked super young, and he was a bit of a lad. He was good crack and everything, and just in the middle of the school year, he just disappeared. And it's like, oh yeah, he's gone traveling. We were like, what? A teacher has gone traveling? How's that? What? And like, so that's fine. So say that was in October. In April, we go to the cinema, like you do when you're 17. There's fuck all to do, and who is there serving popcorn? Our fucking former science teacher is now working at the cinema serving popcorn, and we're in the queue, like, having palpitations, and we get in his queue and we're going up and we're like, what are we going to say? And we didn't know, but we just couldn't. It was like, is this a doppelganger? Is this really him? And when we got up to the till, he was like, oh guys, how are you? Yeah, what's happening? And we're like, all right, sir, what are you doing here? He's like, I got back from traveling and I'm just working here for a few months and then I'm going to go back to the school. We were like, oh, and we couldn't get another word out, and we walked away thinking, what a fucking loser. That is the height of ignorance, and that's what those people on the chat, who are on the comments, who are like having to go at comedians, that they're the losers. Just like we were the losers at 17 because we didn't understand the real world. Yeah. That guy probably was a bit embarrassed, right? But wore it like a fucking champ, turned it on us, and was like complete pride. Like, yeah, I've come back from traveling and now I'm working in the cinema, and that's just the way life is. At 17, I wasn't able to comprehend that. But thankfully at 36, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy actually, the balls on him, because he would have known Yorkgate Cinema at Belfast. Check it out, it's a fucking dump, and it's full of scum like us, and he chose to work there knowing that his students were going to come in at some point, but like, yeah, I'm going to go back to teaching, but I'm doing this for a while. Like, that's the attitude comedians need to adopt now, and just like prepare for like the worst thing that could possibly happen. Like, it's just absolutely own what you're doing, and shouldn't, if not having a day job was a badge of honor before, hopefully now the kind of
people can kind of realize that, yeah, it's not a badge, it's just you're living your life. It's just something you do, something for a while, something you don't do for a while. Whether you have a day job or not, you're still the same fucking person. Like,
that's the thing. And there's no shame in working. There's no shame in like working and doing comedy. There's no shame in only doing comedy, but it's the badge of honor thing that's always got me. But I have never forgot that teacher except for his name. That's the only thing I forgot. It's gone. I've always been bad with names. Like, it's great. That's like that wash away. But being Irish, and like maybe we'll finish in this, but we have the ultimate get out. We never have to remember anyone's name. Yeah. Because it's totally acceptable for us to call everyone lad. Yeah. And then if it's a girl, you go, oh, look who it is.
Yeah. It's yourself.
Yeah. And that's, like, if you say it with the amount of charm I do, it's very flattering. They really feel like you mean that, you know. But it's a beautiful thing, and it's obviously the worst time in the world to be in any profession. Like, nothing's guaranteed, nothing's for sure, but the cream rises to the top. So if there's only going to be 30% as many comedians, that, like, it'll be the 30% funniest, hopefully. Or my fears, the 30% who know the club owners best. Yeah. Which is why it's so great to be speaking to you, James. One of my best and most favourite friends. That stuff you did. I even miss you with the clipboard.
You think so? The early stuff.
And the parted hair and the fucking duffel coat. I don't even know if you wore a duffel coat. I just picture you in one. You had a real Paddington vibe back in the day. But I think I was maybe the first time we ever met was at the Comedy Store at the Gong Show. And I couldn't get a read on you at all. I had no idea. And then you went up, you did the clipboard thing. And then I think you got gonged off. And you just came off. You're like, yeah. And walked out. And I was like, I hope I take it as well. When I get gonged off, but then I didn't get gonged off, so sorry.
Yeah, unlucky man, you didn't have the journey of getting gonged off.
Oh no, I did in Manchester. Oh, here, we'll finish on this. We'll finish on terrible gig story then. I went up to do Manchester gong, paid for trains up, obviously, because, you know, who cares? I was going to win it, so it doesn't matter. Because I went all the way through to the end. The last three at my gong were me, Ben Pope, and Kai Kurd. Or Kai Cry. He's changed names a couple of times. Kai Kurd. So that was the final three at mine, and I went up to Manchester thinking, I'm going to fucking smash this one. Went up. My pals came to see me. It was basically empty in the venue, and it's never good. Like, that room's too big. It's a weird atmosphere. And I, before I'd even gone in, asked if I could go first, because I wanted to, like, be so good they would gong people off quicker, and then I could get the win in it sooner. Here's a tip for all the kids listening: you do not want to go first at the Gong Show, okay? Because those people who've just been given those cards have itchy trigger fingers at that point. They can't wait the card to fuck her off, and the whole audience, the only reason they're there is to see someone get carded off. So I went up first, and it was the coldest. The audience were just like difficult. All right. So I went up and I got like a minute and 4 seconds in, and they carded me off. And I remember as I walked off stage, because there's no host to shake hands with. The host is the other side of the stage, and you walk off on your own and just go back to your seat. Walked off the stage. It was like they were completely right to card me off. And I remember at that point literally thinking, my pals were sitting here, and I was like, remember this always. Anytime you think you're about to smash a gig, remember it's not up to you. It's the audience, you know. So like that's my one, because I am a bit of an arrogant person, and I sometimes get ahead of myself and love myself a little bit. I remember Manchester Gong Show. I'll never forget that. It was harrowing. Do you ever do the Manchester one?
I never went up that end. I've only heard tough things.
It doesn't seem to have the same, like,
it's in like a lecture theatre, but I know a lot of comics that actually do weekends and gig up there, but never got into the London Comedy Store. It's a separate kind of venture either side, but they go up and they do the gong up there, they get on, they get weekends, but like London weekends in the Comedy Store is a different beast altogether. Yeah,
there's no carryover, but the Manchester one, I've never seen as full. I've had good sets there and everything, but it's just odd. Super high stage. Lecture theatre-esque. It's got a top tier that's always empty. So there might be like one or two of the other acts sitting up there. That's where I would sit if I'm gigging there. But it's just eerie, you know. But if they reopen and want me to gig there,
pay for your own travel, you'd be straight up there.
Right. Get a bike.
Yeah,
but
man.
right, is there anything that you do? Like, is there like a recurring format to this, or has it just been us talking shit?
No, there is, man. I basically say goodbye to you. You hang up your laptop, if that's a phrase.
Yeah, I'm starving, so I'm definitely going to get something to eat.
Yeah, and then I chat to the camera for a bit, and I give my true insight on how the show went. I'll chat for another bit. I might talk about magic again, do a little spell for you, maybe. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, here, you could just take out the lazy part of my magic. Just tell yourself that. But yes, it's been a delight. Like, I don't know how it's been for you, but I've definitely enjoyed this more than my other Zoom chats today.
Yeah, man.
And Morgan, the producer, I don't think we've ever met in person, have we?
No, we haven't. We spoke a few times.
That's cool.
Yeah. One day.
One day you can look forward to it, mate. I don't know what you look like, but you'll never forget my face. So
all right, dude. We'll catch you again.
All right, guys.
Take it easy. All the best.
Speak to you soon.
Good
Love
luck.
you lots.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
That was Matthew McAloone, everybody. If you didn't know who he was, you fucking know him now. I think I got a good thing. I thought like, oh, well, I'll prepare some questions. No need.
Well, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, man, it was nice. Obviously, I didn't know he was. Whenever I chat to him, it takes a similar vibe where we talk about not similar stuff, but like getting into the different types of personality, the red personalities and stuff like that. I'm not hugely sold on it in some ways, because when people talk about it, they say that it's almost like it's dead cert that you're a red person or you're an orange person, whereas in reality, everyone is an amalgamation of them all. Like, so you have red traits and stuff like that. But yeah, the fact that if you choose to be a red person, you say you're a red person, that makes you more of a red person than definitely a green one anyway. But yeah, I love all that chat and find about it. I'm very happy to listen to it and hear what it is.
Yeah, we enjoyed it in the comments. We were chatting away about stuff. It was a surprisingly motivational episode. I was genuinely expecting you guys to just talk about beer and MMA all night.
No, man, like we're both too. Well, it could happen next time we're on. We'll talk about beer for the whole time, maybe. But yeah, I'm not into beer. Like, I like a beer, drink a beer, nice. That's it. You know, I sell loads of beers to people here. That's it. But I not totally into it. MMA, I love training. He loves training as well. We're into it a bit. We definitely watch it and stuff. But you can see the stuff that we were talking about there. That's like obviously what we're both very into. I knew there was a touch of that type of interest or personality types and that type of thing, or even kind of being motivated and stuff like that. I knew he had that because he fucking works out loads, you know, and he's gigging hard and he travels loads, so he does have that motivational vibe that I love to think that I have as well. But so of course we're going to end up talking about that type of stuff. Seems more obvious now, like, but it was really nice chatting to him. I like listening to him, and he's funny as well. It's good crack. It was really like catching up with him, because that's the type of stuff we talk about after a gig all the time as well. Yeah, man. It's definitely nice doing. We'll chat him again. Yeah, I think you suit your new show very well. Yeah, man. he'd love it. Yeah, the comedy section / keto drug section. Yeah, we both came over. Obviously, we both came over from Ireland. Maybe that's like, it's kind of the classic thing to say about like. What the fuck was that?
Oh, it's a sound barrier. Oh.
Fucking alright. Hang on. The window nearly fell in.
We're fine.
I'll prop it against the window.
That's a new thing.
Fucking hell, man. That nearly came down and crushed me. If I just went like that, I would have got it.
If that crushes you after all the fucking 4 hours of yoga.
Help me, I'm trapped. We've two windows over, one here and one here. And when we're doing shows or when we're recording podcasts here, we've these big kind of plywood things with soundproofing on them, and we prop them up against the window, and you make sure that the nail at the bottom is linked in so it doesn't fall over. Well, that's usually what we do, Morgan, isn't it?
That's usually what I do, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's alright. It's not too loud out anyway, so it'll be fine. Yeah, that was exciting end to the chill show.
You can't say we're not climactic.
I know, yeah, I know. We're going to be back again tomorrow. I'm going to be chatting with Francis. So if you checked out the show last week, Francis Foster is going to be back in. We'll be doing our 2 meters apart thing. So we'll be kind of either side. We've started, and then it'll be my show where we'll be talking about my key subjects. Might introduce motivational tat. Get Matthew McAloone in someday.
I'd love that.
It'd be nice. Talk about motivate people, really get things going. But I'm doing that with Francis tomorrow, and then later on in the week we're doing the archive again on Saturday and Sunday. We're doing some work with Hastings Festival as well. That's going to be coming out in a while. We've an Angel Comedy Trust. It's the charity side of stuff. So if you want to check out some of the work that they've done during the year, some of the info's on our website. You can stick it up. Again, like there's loads of random things. I just started laying some of them off. Like we have therapy for comedians as well. The main thing is if you're enjoying this, the live stream, or if you like the club as a whole, or the things we stand for, or the free therapy, or just trying to keep the place going. Obviously, we're not bringing in any money at the moment, and we still have to pay loads of rent on the place. Like it's been deferred for a little bit, but we're going to have to pay it all back eventually. Like it's looking like, so if you can kind of email, or if you can join our Patreon, that'd be absolutely class. That's the one thing that'll definitely keep us going. That'll help us get opened up and running shows again as soon as we can. I don't know what kind of post-COVID it'd look like for comedy. I have a few different ideas, but once we're allowed open, we'll open up and we'll start doing some shows, and we'll see you there. So sign up to our Patreon. That'll help us keep going. We'd really, really appreciate it. And that's it for this evening. Thanks to Matthew for ringing in, chatting to us for a while. Thanks to everyone in the comments. I didn't get to too many of them today. I was kind of talking to him a good bit, but I'll be in them for a little while after this. And if you have any questions or stuff, to be honest, I don't know enough about magic yet to be chatting about it or casting spells. But I'll keep reading about it, and I'll chat about it again next week, or even tomorrow with Francis. I'm sure he'd love that.
Oh yeah, I can see that going.
He'll text me now like, I'm not coming in tomorrow. That's everything for tonight, but thanks to Josh down Surrey, thanks to Morgan sitting over there in the comments running the show, and thanks to Matthew for coming on. I'll see you tomorrow. Take it easy. Good night.